What's going on, guys? Welcome to Looking Ahead to Beto Days. I am Chris.
And I'm Ryan.
And we've got a really, really packed episode today.
It is packed full of stuff. I can't believe how much content we got in here.
Yeah, just a metric fuck ton. Like we were trying to figure out how we were going to get it all and get people to actually listen to the episode. Just so much stuff, and that's because it's on volunteering. Mm-hmm. Volunteering for Beto is probably the most important part. I mean, it's one of the biggest parts of the whole campaign.
We are a grassroots campaign. It doesn't work unless you have an army of volunteers who are the grassroots. So, yeah.
You have to have that support, and yes. That's what we've got. And before we get much further, when you go to listen to one of the later segments, you can catch a sneeze from Hannah. So shout out to Hannah. She gets to special guest in this episode through a sneeze. But in the in the vein of volunteering, you have to have grassroots support, and that's what Beto has. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our segment on why Beto. Why Beto?
Okay, there are a lot of reasons why I support Beto, but I'm going to start with how I first saw him or heard about him, which was when he and Will Hurd had to rent that car together and do that road trip all the way up to DC because their flight was canceled. And I just thought it was awesome that these two people from different parties were debating in a very civil manner, and it just really was what I wanted from my leaders in Congress, was to talk to each other with respect, and even if they didn't agree. And I thought that was just great. Over time, there's been so many more things. Beto reaches people and so across the entire spectrum, from very progressive people much more liberal than I am, to people much more conservative than me. And I just think that's great that he's able to bring so many people together. But another reason is that I find him extremely persuasive. He's able to convince people. That's the right word. But let's take gun control. You may not necessarily have put a whole lot of thought to it, but as you listen to him and you start thinking about all these different issues and why he supports mandatory buybacks, for example, I find it really compelling. It's a really compelling argument. And I think that we need someone like that to persuade people and convince people to get behind an idea, to fight for it, to push for it, because it matters. And if people don't care, then nothing ever happens.
Fantastic, thank you.
Hello, my name is Pam Junkin, and I'm from Southwest Missouri, and I'm here to talk with you about why Beto. Beto is a wonderful man. I know this from watching him, just like the rest of you. But there are some very special things about him that have always drawn me to him. Those things are, he speaks the truth, and he speaks life. He speaks life for all of us. And why Beto? Most of us understand that everyone can intellectually identify with different circumstances. But how many of us really take the time to try to understand them? Beto is a man who wants to understand them, who wants to talk to us who wants the Americans to be his boss, not anybody else. So let's talk a minute about why Beto, because of what he believes and what he understands. He understands that climate change is real. He understands that it's going to take everything from agriculture to re-education for the changes that we have to make, and we have to make them quickly as possible. He understands that tariffs are taxes. They're taxes against the American people. He understands that farmers can't hang on without proactive steps on the changes in their climate and their market availability. There is so much he understands about education and how it has been taken for granted for so long. We now don't even have enough teachers to cover our needs. He understands that veterans have given everything they had to give and get nothing back. He understands everyone needs health care and that we are America. So we need to have a choice in the matter. He understands how broken Washington is and why, which is probably the most important. He's educated us on how it works. And everybody is so worried about who's going to beat Trump. For crying out loud, Beto can beat Trump. Lies cannot stand against truth, and Beto is a man of truth. He understands that it can't be important to win or lose. It's doing the right thing. He understands that an open border is not the answer. He understands that we have to make a better way. That involves a lot of change, but he's the man to take us there. He's the leader we need to keep our priorities straight and our vision focused. He understands equality and equity, that immigration reform is needed immediately, and military weapons have no place on our streets. He understands about the people who rely on our social services just to have life. He understands the pay discrepancies for women. He has also made it quite clear that he understands the need for diplomacy, that we must get out of these wars, these endless, terrifying wars. He believes in having allies and partnerships and joining the global community again. Oh my gosh, I was never so devastated as when our current president took us away from the global community. Beto believes in the rule of law, and he will work with Congress on both sides of the aisle to bring the unity needed, to bring about the new laws that we need. And I've never heard anybody say that they're pro-abortion, but I tell you this, I do believe in women's rights, and especially a woman's right to choose. The list of all the things that Beto understands and believes in, he lets us understand and believe in because he's available to us. He wants to work for us. Our voices count. Nothing else has ever mattered, whether you followed him through the Senate campaign or if you're following him now through this hopeful presidential run. I am more than hopeful. I am a proud supporter of Beto O'Rourke. And he, right now, is the man that we need to lead us during this time, the 21st century, with our 21st century problems. We had a great leader in Barack Obama, and he was a man of his time. He did what needed to be done to save our country. And I believe that Beto O'Rourke is the man who can save our country now. Thank you for listening to me. But Beto has so many good qualities: integrity, humility, character. We need character. We need moral convictions. We need Beto O'Rourke.
So we actually had PJ emailed me an MP3, and Dolly was a holdover from last week because I totally forgot to add her Why Beto in. Shout out to Dolly, you're awesome, and she's a listener too. I felt really bad about that because she listens like religiously. Like,
oh no! Well, shout out to Dolly. Hi, Dolly. We're sorry we missed you.
Shout out to Dolly. So, which brings me to our first segment, and our first segment is actually how I got initiated into the Beto universe right before I started the podcast, and that is social media. Social media is a huge aspect of of the campaign.
Yeah, and I was telling Brenda this. We were just chatting at one point, and it's the thing, social media is incredibly important because you can do all the work you want to do, but if some people aren't seeing you work and people aren't seeing what you're doing, you're just working in a void. So not only is it important to put in the hard work, but it's important that you get noticed and you get the message out there, and that's where social media really comes in. So yeah, let's hear from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and play this segment. I'd like to welcome on Kelly Willett. She is a social media volunteer for Beto O'Rourke.
Hello.
Hi, Kelly. Welcome to the show. So Kelly is a social media volunteer, and actually me and her became friends through doing social media. We actually hosted this really great event with Marcel McClinton. It was last weekend, actually. So I wanted you put it into one of the group chats that we were in. What gave you the idea to do a fundraiser for him, especially since we're in Virginia and he's in Houston?
It's a good question. It sort of just popped in my head, but I think the origin of it was the idea of supporting the down ballot candidates that we'd been doing. Because we had just been actually in Charlottesville with Beto O'Rourke doing the Amy Laufer event, and then up in Virginia doing the Dan Helmer event. So I was kind of following off that train of thought of like, how can we help down ballot candidates? And I knew Marcel from the Running with Beto movie, and I just really, really like him. I think he's a really interesting person. I think he's doing a lot of really, really great work that you don't see, with kids that age. And I don't even like to call him a kid. He's very much a grown up. But I think he inspires 100%. Other kids to do that.
I try to stay out of that too.
Yeah. But I think he inspires other people his age to come out and do the work that needs to be done. And it's like Beto always points out as well, as, it's the young people that make the difference. And he's definitely on the forefront of young people making a difference right now.
Absolutely. I was incredibly impressed by him. Just in general, in the conversations that I've had with him and the reactions from the people in the room. that had just seen him speak to us. So
hmm
with this event in the room, we were able to raise like $150, something like that.
170, yeah.
170, whoop whoop. So,
Right.
but the big, and I want to, being completely honest, I was like, man, we only raised $170. I'm kind of glad he didn't fly all the way out here for $170. And then they brought out that BuzzFeed article, and I was reading through it, and I went, holy shit! And I called Kelly immediately because we raised him $3,700. So a big part of what we were able to do for Marcel was through social media. Like I said, we raised $3,700. I streamed on Twitter, Kelly streamed on Facebook, and we just covered all of our bases. And I mean, he wasn't even here, and we streamed in through Skype. But because of social media, we were able to reach a wider audience because we're both plugged in through the Beto O'Rourke campaign. So, Kelly,
Yes.
tell me what do you do as a social media volunteer for Beto? It's extremely important. They always have stuff coming out, and it's just a huge part of the entire atmosphere of and universe of the campaign. Like, what exactly do you do?
A lot of it is pushing content. So, we get stuff through Slack. Anything that Beto's tweeted, I try to retweet with a comment if I have one. Try to comment on that. You're trying to get the algorithms up and that sort of thing. Anything that's good news that comes out about them, you tweet out. So pushing a lot of content. But also, I was thinking about this earlier a little bit, and I was thinking about how we try to be the face of the Beto campaign when we're on social media. And I mostly use Twitter, which, as you know, can be quite a cesspool.
Yes,
Um,
it can, absolutely.
so it's been a real challenge learning not to be reactive on Twitter, because that's sort of part of the mission for Beto America, is to be just a better person all around and not to be reactive to the hateful energy that's around us all the time. And it's I'm not sure exactly where I was going that, but I was thinking about it earlier, just how much my approach to social media has changed. Whereas, like, I might, get into a fight with somebody before, and then, an hour later, it's still in my mentions and I'm still angry about it, but I just ignore it now. And, 5 minutes later, I don't remember what the tweet was about. And it's just so much healthier and such a better and also right way to go about things.
It's very relieving.
It is. It really
I
is.
used to get super pissed off about anything that Donald Trump did, and I still do because
Oh,
he's a
yeah.
fucking idiot. But I get I don't let it bother me as much, especially when you have like his normal followers. Like I don't even mess with the random day to day people anymore. Like I
Mm.
don't even comment. If they comment on my stuff, I let it go.
No,
It's
I know.
so relieving.
Yeah, it really, really is. And you got to remember, the bots and the trolls. The idea, you're not going to win an argument with them. The goal is interaction. The goal is to play the algorithm. So every time you interact with one, they win. So you got to just try and stay away from that, and resist the urge, as tempting as it is to put out, your point of view. Just report them and ignore them, because that comment's going to be, a floating corpse in 20 minutes that nobody's paying attention to. But if you all jump on it and make it a big thing, then guess what? It's a big thing. So it's better just to leave that stuff alone anyway.
Exactly, and they kind of run that through the Twitter DMs because they have a variety of groups. I actually do social media volunteering. It's actually how I started the podcast, was through social media volunteering,
hmm
which has been super wonderful. I've enjoyed. We've made a lot of friends. Like like as a group, the Beto community through social media is pretty amazing.
It is. There's a lot of diversity. I've definitely met some people that I probably would never have met in my normal life, not with the career that I work in, and that sort of thing. I just wouldn't be meeting, certain types of people in certain professions. So it's been really great.
Absolutely. And back to kind of touching back on what you were saying about the negativity. If you do respond to like the bots and the trolls, it's just a good way to get yourself suspended. I try to, protect myself as much as possible by not commenting on a lot of those things, but you see just a boatload of people getting suspended all the time.
Yeah, it's happening today, right? A lot of people have been suspended today.
Yep, a whole bunch of people have been suspended today for just absolutely dumb stuff.
Well, I think when
So,
you interact with their accounts, then they go and they don't like something, then they report it, and then they go through your account and report everything that could be possibly reportable, and then you get kicked off. Like it's just not worth it. So
absolutely not. It's especially with like our account, I can't get my podcast suspended because if my podcast gets suspended, I can't get my episodes out, which means I don't get my information out as effectively. And it's the same thing with the social media world. You guys need to get stuff out fast, and you can't do it if your account's not active.
right, and I don't have time to rebuild another account. So and also I like my handle, so I want to keep it. So yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be able to get my handle again. It took me too long to figure it out. So, when you started volunteering for the campaign, what made you lean towards social media?
Um, that was just the first opportunity that came up, actually. I also do the texting team, and obviously I host events and some other stuff. Obviously, canvassing, canvas captain. I do a lot of things, but where I started with social media.
Don't forget
Because,
petition ballots. You guys crush it up
oh
there.
my gosh, ballot petitions.
Kelly's involved in a lot of stuff. Kelly's a very important moving part of this campaign.
Thank you very much. If you're in Virginia or in one of the surrounding states, please get in touch with us. We need help with the ballot petitions. It's a total pain. So any help is appreciated on that end. But yes,
Absolutely. I think I've had Matt and Michelle on here trying to plug ballot petition.
yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah.
We'd like to do like a big push on October 26th. There's an event out on the map, kind of far west of the state. So if anybody wants to sign up for that, we'd love to have you.
Yeah. If you're in the surrounding states, please come help us. Like North Carolina, Maryland, all of those places, come help. We could use all of the people that we can get, and we reciprocate. We'll come help you guys out as well.
Right.
But anyways, Kelly, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for sharing about social media with us.
You're very, very welcome.
Big shout out to Kelly for coming on. She's kind of been my partner in crime as of late. Me and her set up, like you heard in the segment. She's the Kelly that I've alluded to a few times, who helped me set up the Marcel campaign, which again was made huge by social media.
Yeah, y'all knocked that out of the park.
Yeah, stupid number. It's outrageous. So Ryan is actually a super brave man, and he went clipboarding with Brenda Jurgens. So go ahead and tell us how that went.
It was fun. Been trying to get Brenda on the show for a while because she's one of our superstars, and with this show coming up, we absolutely had to get her on. So she had a clipboarding event at the Dallas Cowboys game. Let me tell you, I'm an Eagles fan. Going to a Dallas Cowboys that was painful. I didn't know if I could do it, but I managed. And we sat down and had a really great conversation about canvassing and organizing and really getting into how to organize and how to start finding Beto supporters in your area and make this happen. So let's hear from Brenda. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll bring in two special guests, and let me just get you all to introduce yourselves real quick. So
I'm Linda Loggins. I'm from Fort Worth, Texas.
Hey, and I'm Brenda Jurgens, and I'm from west of Fort Worth in Aledo, Texas.
So welcome here. So thanks for sitting down and talking with me. We just got finished doing some block walking. It's hot out, so we retreated into some air conditioning. Came to a TGI Fridays and having some beer and some water, and having a conversation. So awesome.
Yes, it's hot.
Yes,
it's very hot.
Very hot. Please don't get sun poisoning again for us. Y'all do a lot of volunteering for Beto. You're huge Beto supporters. Why don't you tell me what all do you do to help out?
Well, so I found Beto in Nowhere, Texas with 14 other people, and he converted me from the Republican Party, and I realized he was truly a generational and transformative figure, just a guy who was really ready for his time and this time in our country. And he asked to volunteer, and I had never volunteered in my life.
Yeah, me neither.
Never had worn a T-shirt, had never really contributed to a campaign. I was a reliable voter. But when he said volunteer, it just sparked something in me, and I immediately started canvassing and calling and texting, and just anything to make myself indispensable and try and help get him elected. And I was really disappointed about the Senate run, but the day he announced that he was running for president, I sent out 5,000 texts that day.
5,000 texts. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever sent 5,000 ever.
It was hard.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I grew up in a family where my parents were always active voters. My mother did a lot of volunteer work, so I saw that growing up, that she was committed to going out and helping and doing whatever she could. And I first heard Beto when he was in Fort Worth. It was probably the March before the Senate race. He came and spoke there, and I heard him in person in a very crowded room in a very dark place. And I remember thinking, there's something about this man that I'm interested in. And I have lived in Fort Worth my entire life. Tarrant County is sort of a bastion for Republicans. It's the one urban center in Texas that has consistently voted Republican, and
Not
I
anymore.
said, you know what, I'm going to do my part to make sure that that doesn't happen. And I went through the training. I volunteered to do some phone banking.
Whenever you get ready.
Sure thing.
But my love was to go out and block walk, and so I worked out of a pop-up office in my zip code area and hit on a bunch of apartment doors and got a lot of first-time voters or people that weren't registered to vote that agreed to sign up. In fact, my husband, who had never voted before, actually registered to vote and voted for the first time in the Senate race. And he had gotten turned off about politics because of being in the Vietnam generation and said,
yeah.
I don't want to have anything to do with all that.
Pops in all of their houses, yeah.
And because of me getting out there and committing to doing a lot of things volunteer-wise, he said, you know, this is a really important race. I feel like I really need to be heard. I said, yes, you do.
Absolutely. So for not everybody is aware, you guys predominantly do Fort Worth, Tarrant County area. Describe Tarrant County to someone who's not from Texas or not from around here. Like, what are the people like here?
Well, first off, people in Tarrant County, I think Linda would agree, are just extremely friendly. Even though Tarrant County is a large metropolis, and there's a lot of transient people who move in and out with large corporations. You either get the Fort Worth way or you don't, and people are pretty much unedited and very approachable. So yeah, I canvass Fort Worth a lot, but I also canvass one of the reddest counties in Texas, and that's Parker County. And
So what's like the difference there between the two?
night and day. First off, Tarrant County now is completely urban.
Okay.
It is a metropolis, and whenever you hit the Parker County line, you are getting into extremely rural Texas.
Cow country.
Cow country, it's ranchers, it is peach growers, pecan growers. There's a lot of agriculture, a lot of agribusiness in Parker County. And traditionally a Republican stronghold. Hillary took just about the average. She took around 4% of the vote. And you know what? We increased the vote for Beto in Parker County to over 20%.
That's amazing. And those are the kinds of things that matter, because you might not flip a county like that,
Right.
but you cut off the margins.
Exactly.
That's the kind of stuff that really makes that true. I say, Beto had a 254 county campaign. You have 50 state strategy. You have to compete everywhere.
Yes.
And that's really important. Those are the kinds of things that really
Right.
flip the state.
Right, but what's really remarkable is right on the edge of Fort Worth is the community I live in. It's Alito, and it's Beto's absolute demographic profile. It is college-educated voters, and what is amazing is I decided whenever Beto ran, I'm like, I can't do everything about all the peach growers and everything else, but I can focus on my community. And that's where I started walking. And I literally would walk one precinct after the other. Beto took the majority of the votes in my town of Alito. And as a matter of fact, Alito contributed most of the votes to Beto. So back to, if you knock on doors, if you call, if you engage with your neighbors, when Beto says, and Linda can attest to this, face-to-face contact with voters has the highest likelihood of them understanding who your candidate is, what he's about, what he might appeal to as far as his policies or what his plans are. It does make a difference. So I took a town that had, less than 3% Democratic vote, and in a pretty good area, and we carried the majority of the vote.
How big is the town? Like, what's the population?
Well, it's when you say Alito, people, there's little areas, little pockets in between, but there's 20,000 voters.
Okay, so that's a sizable town.
Yes, yeah, it is now.
Yeah.
It was a sleepy little area for a while, but go ahead, Linda.
Well, in terms of speaking about Tarrant County, you have to understand, when Trump was elected in 2016, in January of 2017, right before the inauguration, I found out that there was a group in Fort Worth, the Tarrant County Democratic Women's Group, and I showed up at their first meeting in January of 2017. They had so many women who showed up, who wanted to join after the results of the election. It is now the largest Democratic women's group in the state of Texas.
Oh, wow.
So you have to understand, there were a lot of women who mobilized, especially in Tarrant County, who decided to run for office, decided to volunteer, and a lot of, I think, the reason why Tarrant County went blue, where a lot of people voted Republican for governor, but voted for Beto for the Senate race, was because of the efforts of the women in Tarrant County who got out and got mobilized.
It's all local. Everybody says all politics is local, and that's,
Yes.
Having those down-ticket people to push for you at that level makes a difference.
To some of the crazy things that women in Tarrant County did, they would literally drive neighborhoods, and if they found a Beto sign and a yard, they had pre-filled out note cards with their information, their contact information, and would say, this Thursday we're having coffee and your neighbor supports Beto, and I would assume that you're like-minded, this sort of thing. They would drop it in their mailbox, and they would start selling out coffees, volunteer coffee, people showing up and all of a sudden volunteering for Beto. Nice. So when you say grassroots means doing a lot of really crazy stuff that pays off.
Yeah.
But our new Speaker of the House, who is obviously Republican, he had the meeting this year right before
Texas House.
Texas House. Yes, the Texas House. He had a meeting with all the Republicans before the leak started this year, and he said, things in Texas have to change. He said there are about 500,000 women in Texas who all told their girlfriends about Beto, and they went together to vote for him, and so the status quo cannot stand any longer.
And I've been preaching that even Beto's candidacy, even in a failure, changed the Republican Party. It made them pull their heads out of their butts. So I tell this story because I'm down in the Texas 14. My Congressman's Randy Weber showed up. The extent of his campaign was to show up, mow the grass at the post office, get his picture taken for the paper, and leave. And that was the extent of it. Beto showed up 3 times, including one time in the primary. And it made people there thinking, what am I getting out of my Republican congressman? We can do better.
Yes.
And that's why I really think that, this last session, what did they do? They, instead of passing bathroom bills, they passed education reform.
Yes.
So,
And
stuff like that.
tax.
Exactly. So it's like suddenly they're like, oh, wait, we can't just take our voters for granted. And I've always said this, if Republicans have to adopt progressive ideas to win, progressives still win.
Yeah.
So, this is a good thing. We're pushing the envelope, and Beto's demonstrated.
Absolutely,
Ryan.
But one of the things I've thought about is, and one of the benefits of Beto, I don't think any president going forward can always count on getting legislative achievements.
Right.
Having a president who can create a movement for social change where legislative achievements are not possible is absolutely, I think, important going forward. I think that's kind of where our country is going. Having a voice like Beto's in the White House who would tell, 60 to 100 million Americans, get on the phone and call your credit card company, call your bank, call this one, call that one, and trying and force change, social change, I think is probably going to be just as important going forward. And he has the ability to do that.
Yeah.
He can literally...
He's demonstrating it. He's demonstrating that in his campaign. That is, he's raising money for... he's selling shirts on his on his website that are popular that go completely to other organizations.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
and I can cite 2 examples from Tarrant County from the trickle-down effect that Beto had within Tarrant County itself. Wendy Davis, that used to represent in Fort Worth, when she ran for governor and lost that seat, it went to a Republican woman, Connie Burton, who was in office, and because of the mobilization of women within Tarrant County who were Democratic or said they were Democratic, we actually elected Beverly Powell, who replaced Connie Burton for that seat.
Right.
And I know also that there was one county commissioner's seat that was, I know because a family member was actually motivated to help run the campaign for the Republican man who held the seat. He was defeated by a black woman who is now the county commissioner for Precinct 2, Southeast Tarrant County. So there have been a lot of local races that benefited from not just Beto showing up and mobilizing voters. I think a lot of people felt validated because they didn't honestly know how many people were in the county that believed and felt the same way about issues that they did. And that's what the
Beto
campaign
effect.
did.
Yeah.
The Beto effect.
Exactly. Absolutely. I think that, I remember there was a point where they didn't make a big deal about the yard signs at first.
Right.
Because they were like, yard signs don't vote. And that's
Right.
really kind of been the mantra for Democrats for a long time.
They
signs
inform.
don't bite. They,
Right.
whatever. Well, people started putting those out as like badges of honor. Like, no, I actually am a Democrat. I'm going to vote. And it's not,
and proud.
And again, not necessarily like it was. I'd say they became Betocrats. Not necessarily Democrats, because let's be honest, the Democratic brand in Texas still isn't very good. It still has a ways to go. But Beto, on the other hand, do you need to take that call? Or okay, the Beto, on the other hand, he pushed it. He pushed the envelope, and he made something that didn't exist before. I don't think, like you said, really brought everybody out, brought the communities together, and all of a sudden they're like, oh wow, my neighbors are suddenly Beto supporters.
Well, yeah. I think it got a dialogue going, and that was the most important thing, because I've learned on a campaign, what's important is listening to people and let them tell their story, because when you make that connection, it makes them real, and they feel like somebody is listening to their point of view. And that's what Beto does.
Exactly.
And that's what makes a difference, that one-on-one exposure.
Exactly. And that's what's got me so excited about, his presidency, is if we can replicate that nationally, actually get people involved in places where they weren't normally written off.
Yes.
I mean, you're talking about a real movement here.
Yes.
Like, not let's just flip to Texas. We're talking like Teddy Roosevelt with going in with the Bull Moose Party kind of movement here. I mean, we're not talking small politics here. So
It's not small.
no. So this is why I get so excited about this for sure.
Exactly.
I've seen it.
Well,
It can happen again.
Yeah, felt
and
it.
that's the other reason why, because of what I encounter out there when I volunteer. I don't necessarily give a lot of credence to what the pollsters or the other people have to say. Not that there's anything wrong or that they're not knowledgeable, but I think a lot of people, especially, are just out there, just like I know in Tarrant County, that we're sort of underneath the surface.
Yes.
That it took showing up to actually vote and getting
Yes.
the vote out before you actually knew what was out there.
Yeah, what was possible and
Exactly.
what the population and the demographics were.
So,
Exactly.
I wanted to believe that there were enough people out there because of the people I spoke with, but honestly, I didn't actually know for certain until after the results
And,
were
and,
in.
and frankly, that's the kind of I think the lesson learned here is you can't just sit on your couch and hope.
No.
No.
You really got to get out, and
you do.
like it's you got to get out and volunteer. You got to, even if you can't block walk, even if you can't clipboard, make a phone call, write a letter to the editor.
Exactly.
Wear your shirt down and go to a food bank or something. I mean, Beto's
Exactly.
campaign is all about activism where
Yes.
it needs to be. So just do something. Be active. Don't
Yes.
just sit on the couch anymore. I think
Well,
that's really
he got a lot of people off the couch.
Yes,
I
yeah.
mean, amazing how many people he got off the couch.
So I actually wanted to ask you because he got you off the couch.
Yes.
And you've been doing some amazing organizing and putting together some amazing organizing groups. And you kind of sent me this list of how to do it.
Yes.
So I'd just like to ask you, like, how do you do it? How do you go about organizing? Because here's the question I have is we have people who say, I'm in Michigan and I'm the only Beto supporter around.
Yeah.
I look on the map and there's the next closest event is 150 miles away.
Right.
What do we tell those people? How do they
Put
say
an event on the map.
Yeah.
So I had never volunteered. I had no network. I mean, Linda obviously has had the benefit of being in the Democratic Party and having a network. I was an island. And the first event I signed up for, absolutely nobody signed up to do it. So I wasn't
What did you sign
deterred.
up for? Just
I
curious.
signed up to do a canvas and nobody showed up.
Okay.
And I didn't take it personally. So what I did is I just started scheduling a whole bunch. Like
Okay.
I would schedule them way out in advance, and I would schedule 2 to 3 a week. Well, the second one person showed up.
So you think consistently, like every
Yes.
week, scheduling the
Yes.
same one over
Yes.
and over?
Because people, if they get an email or they get notification, it may not be good for that week, but if they can go out and look forward to, and if they see it consistently,
Okay.
they know that there's activity, right?
Okay.
So scheduling stuff with the campaign on the website is really important. And so there were 2 of us that walked the second week that I signed up. And every door that we knocked on where somebody said they supported Beto, we said, great, will you come volunteer with us? Will you be on our canvassing team? We literally had one gal who put her shoes on and left. So I complained that one person signed up, but we ended up with 3 at the end.
Hey, you know what? Those things happen. That's one thing
Exactly.
you find when you start block walking, like interesting things start happening.
Exactly. So if you block walk, make sure every time you find a supporter, you ask them, come volunteer. If you can walk with me, that would be great. If you can do other things, engage them. When people feel pulled into a campaign, they have a tendency to be more vocal. They talk about it just around the water cooler, if nothing else. Hey, I got out and I did this for this candidate this weekend, right? And you may just say it to the right person who might be Beto curious. And
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, you might be able to give them all the goods on Beto.
Yeah.
But but I was still not getting the traction and the numbers, and I had actually never participated with any Democratic Party or Republican Party or anything. But I went and I tracked down the chairman of the Parker County Democrats and met with her.
Found
for
him
about,
how'd you find him? Like on Facebook, Twitter?
yeah, actually I did a Google search. Unfortunately, Parker County Democrats had a website.
And I think most
do.
Pretty much if you're like interested, like Democratic County precinct chairs are not hard to find.
No.
You need to find them.
And that's exactly what I did. I went to her and I asked for all the precinct chairs. But what I also did is I said, look, if I schedule Beto events, will you put it on your Democratic calendar and party calendar? And they did. They started putting my events on their calendar.
Because they're there to support candidates too.
Absolutely. And then I just said to her, you know what, I want to be your indispensable person. Anybody who, says Beto to you, I want you to give them my name and my phone number. And I want to be your contact person because she's busy. She runs...
and they're often volunteers and part-time, if that. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I became the Parker County Beto contact. And I got the name and phone number of every precinct chair, and I said, hey, this is who I am. And I asked them, how familiar are you with your voters in your precinct? Do you walk your precinct? How do you stay in touch with your voters in your precinct? And then I just told them, I'm going to walk your precinct, because every precinct chair is actually supposed to have contact with their voter. And I would tell them, I'm putting together a group of people, and we're going to pick your precinct clean. We're going to walk it. And they were just like, hallelujah. So
Let us be real. These precincts are big. They're
Yes.
not easy to walk as one individual. And yeah, if they could get, we can keep the change.
okay.
Yeah, and if they can get help,
Absolutely.
they're
It's not like they're going to show. That's not like you're going to show up to a precinct chair, say, "Help me get Beto on the elected," and they're going to turn you down.
Exactly.
Like, that's not going to happen.
No, and they got out and walked with me, right? And they were able to point me to their influencers in their precinct, which is really important. Anytime you can find an influencer.
So it's all about those local, just making those local connections with people.
Absolutely. So if I were to tell somebody, how do you get the most traction, get the most volunteers, it would be schedule a lot of events. Just be consistent. Because if you're consistent, people begin to see that there is interest, there's activity. 2, go to your local party, your precincts, and just make yourself the indispensable person that they're actually looking for to help them get out the vote. And there's lots of groups, different groups that you can engage with. And Tarrant County has a Hispanic, Latino Democratic group.
Okay.
I personally watch the Democratic calendar in Fort Worth, and I watch the Parker County, and I sign up events to do there. So let me tell you a classic example of why this is a benefit.
Yeah.
I signed up. There was a huge Latinx kickoff in Texas during the month of September. I signed up to have an event at the kickoff of the Latinx celebration for the month. I went in, I ended up finding 14 Beto supporters at the event. They have now signed up. But what was really important is I got bilingual people.
Right.
They turned me on to an organization called JOLT, J-O-L-T. You can actually get on their website, and if you're running canvases and you need bilingual people, it's not just Hispanic bilingual.
No, really?
They actually have a list of just about every.
Wow.
Yes,
I need to know about that in Houston because we definitely run into that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you're in an area where there's a really heavy Asian community, you can get a hold of JOLT. They can put you in touch with activists who will get out and block walk with you.
Oh.
Yes. So it's a really, if you engage, you will learn something that you can pass on to other people.
Yeah, that's great. Great. And I guess like just obviously the obvious ones like, young Democrats parties or like college campuses. How do you approach a college student group? Like what would you even say if you wanted to go to a student group?
Actually, I use social media and I found the president of every Young Democrats group on every campus of every college in Tarrant County and in Weatherford. And I got a hold of him and I said, hey, tell me who the Beto supporters are. They networked me to the Beto supporters. And I now work with them to make sure that on the debates, that they're filling out the forms with the university and hosting a debate watch party. I am sticking close with them. I'm trying to make sure that if they're going to do any kind of activism on campus, that they have the support and materials and information.
You're there for them, so they'll be there for you is the idea, right?
So what's interesting is some people, Brian, feel really overwhelmed. And being an organizer, even though I'm a doer also, Linda's a doer, because I couldn't just organize anymore. I've got to be able to talk to voters and see what they say, right? But if you've got management skills, if you've come up in the corporate world or not-for-profit world and you've got management skills, the best thing that you can do is go out and organize groups of people who find their own energy. There will always be a leader in that group. That
is something I've survived. Yeah, you get Beto supporters together and good things start happening. You don't like that was one of the things when I went to the steak fry recently. It was just a dozen of us, maybe about 12, 18 of us, about a dozen, I guess. And we just sit there shooting the shit after we're done things, and good things start coming out of that.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden, got this going on, I got this going on, I got this going on. You get these leaders going,
Exactly. So if you can do the heavy lifting to be able to lift a group who you find that natural leader in that group, and then you say to them, I am quickly going to leave you. You call me if you need anything. But I'm not going to do the detail work anymore. You are the leader. You need to be in charge.
Make them accountable for it.
And make them accountable. Give them contacts within the campaign to make sure that they've got the support.
All
let
the
them
resources
know.
they need.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Make sure and let them know I'm out there to help them. But it's funny because I run some DM groups on Twitter.
Yeah. A lot. In fact, you got me started on Twitter, believe it or not.
That's funny. Yeah, I have like 50. I don't even know. I must be close to the Twitter limit. But I organized another one the other day, and it was to try and put all of the awesome, amazing African American women who have a voice in this campaign in touch with senior management because they just want their voice heard. They want to get feedback from the campaign. And somebody direct messaged me and they're like, could you put so-and-so on as the administrator of that account? I'm like, sweetie, I don't want to be the administrator. I just want to get you guys going, and then you can actually take me out of that
Walk
room.
away,
when you guys are doing amazing things, and just know I'm there cheering for you.
That's the great thing about a grassroots campaign. Is really is all just about making those human connections and making those personal connections. And you, like you said, you start finding your neighbors all of a sudden. Like,
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
great. Yeah.
I do want to bring to attention about the fact that there was a story that was put out there in the Star Telegram this past week about they're not going to have funding for early voting on college campuses.
Oh, I saw.
So part of the issue is that people need to be aware that what was possible may not necessarily be possible in 2020 moving forward, so that those people who are students may have to get creative in terms of making sure to get out the vote. And, you know, that's one of the issues that I think there's some ramifications within the Republican Party that they're taking steps to try to limit the number of people who turn out and will vote Democrat.
That's a big thing.
I actually posted that to Team Beto and asked Beto to comment on that because do you guys remember they did that at Texas State and they got caught and Beto called them out?
Yeah, didn't he just recently actually ask everybody to sign a petition for a HBSU in South Carolina, I think?
Yes.
That was the same situation, though.
Well,
they ended up already voting
Well,
side.
the one in Southeast Texas, close to where you live, you know, there's a Supreme Court case on that one.
Yeah.
You know, Beto quotes that one all the time. And if you've ever looked, there is a line that literally goes right down the middle of that campus, separating it into two different voting. It's so gerrymandered. Same thing in North Carolina.
That's the thing.
Same thing
We
in
say all the
Virginia.
time, Texas isn't a red or blue state; it's a gerrymandered state.
It is.
You know,
It is. So yeah, we're going to have to do some heavy lifting for our college campuses, especially where.
But you know, and that's why also, you know, it's still going to be an uphill battle turning Texas blue no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
Well,
but
we defeated.
we have.
Right, we defeated the bill where they were trying to prevent people from being able to get on buses or vans to go vote.
I saw that. I don't know why they even thought that was a good idea to begin with. That was so ridiculous.
I went to my state senator's office over that, and I just basically said, if you even pretend like you like this, I swear to God, I will talk to every person in this in your district.
Like that's not even a
It's not
little
funny.
bit.
My dad almost gave his life for that right. You're just not.
Yeah.
You're not going to mess around with this.
That was so
and then I
ridiculous.
told her, I was like, my parents were Republicans. They were in a nursing home. Like, what? You don't want them to get on the bus? Like, what kind of...
That's what it hurts. It hurts like nursing home
Exactly.
people. Like,
Exactly.
I'm like,
God,
what kind
you
of
don't-
stupid are you?
yeah.
That's a Republican vote there.
Right.
But anyway.
So yeah, no, thank y'all very much for chatting with me. I think.
So just a shout out. Ryan drove from Galveston up to the Metroplex in 100-degree weather. So
Exactly.
can we please give him a big
Shout out.
Thank you.
shout out for doing these podcasts and
we're getting some traction. Hopefully, we're getting some traction. So it's been quite a journey. It's been a lot of fun, and yeah,
exactly.
It's be good.
Exactly. Well, thank you, Ron, for having us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you
coming
so
up
much
and
for coming
helping us
on.
find Beto voters out
Yeah.
there.
How many did we say we got?
I don't even know what we have, but just make sure
Probably
you guys
about 20
know.
or 30, I think.
Yeah.
And that's for like an hour's worth of work, I think.
Yeah.
It was hot, but it was good work. So.
It's hot, and people
we
are
met
trying
some
to
great
get-
people from El Paso. We sat down and had some.
Yes.
You know, every time I've met somebody from El Paso, we said this earlier. Every time I met someone from El Paso, they've been just so. Oh my God, I love Beto.
Yes.
I've never met somebody from El Paso who has not loved them. It's amazing.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Just to let the listeners know, there's a lot of El Paso Cowboys fans and Beto fans.
Yes.
We found them at Cowboy Stadium
Even though I'm
today.
an Eagles fan, I'm out here supporting a tailgate for Cowboys. What Beto's got me doing. So.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank y'all very much again, and I really appreciate it. So.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Go Beto.
Bye-bye.
Yep. Brenda is fantastic, man. She's always tweeting stuff out.
Yeah.
She's always on the phones or out canvassing, and she just does an absolutely phenomenal job. She is an inspiration. And speaking of inspirations, Ryan has been diligently working on a side project because we all know looking ahead to Beto Days is his main piece.
I am multifaceted.
Multifaceted. He's come out of his shell, and
I am pan volunteering.
You were equal opportunity volunteering.
Yes. Yeah. So, we did this big trip for the steak fry. It really wasn't podcast centric when I kind of planned it. It was more of a, I feel like if you're going to be in a presidential campaign in parting a volunteer, maybe you should make a trip to Iowa as kind of like a pilgrimage, So the Iowa staff were planning a big thing for the steak fry, and I went there, and we did a big, we obviously had the steak fry episode, and I ended up recording a bunch of stuff, but also just sitting around and talking with people, other huge Beto supporters who just flew in from all over the country. We started realizing that this isn't something that we can just let go. We have to keep doing this. We have to keep. Beto showed up for us, so we have to keep showing up for him where he needs it. And sometimes the campaign needs a little bit of extra help in different spots, especially the early states, Iowa, New Hampshire. We're planning a bunch of stuff. So we got together and came up with a group. We call ourselves the Beto Road Warriors. We just created a website, BetoRoadWarriors.com. Go check us out.
It's a wonderful website, by the way. I've already checked it out.
Yep.
Those guys are doing fantastic work.
Yeah. So what we're trying to do is basically get lists of people to go to events and then help organize travel. Get you. So we can get you set up with a roommate. Or we're renting big Airbnbs, so we'll have a group, can all sleep in, share costs and share food expenses, and plus we're all close, or hotel blocks, working out travel, so someone could pick you up from the airport and have a rental car that you can split with like 5 people or something. Basically all that stuff that to travel. So having a group that's dedicated, the first thing was the steak fry, I guess would call the inaugural trip. We're planning something for the Liberty and Justice celebration, November 1st. That's going to be our next big event.
Yep, you guys are going back to Iowa.
We're going back to Iowa, and they're trying to do it up big. I think we already got double the number of people confirmed buying tickets. So we're trying to get many people out there to Iowa as we can. But, also small things. We're trying to put together a group for the debates in Ohio. I think we'll have a few people heading out that way. We'll have a few people heading to the California convention. And Chris, I think you'll actually even have a few people heading to your area to help get some signatures for ballot access.
Yeah, no, actually, we were talking about today the Road Warriors are going to come to the Hampton Roads area because we need help getting petition signatures to get Beto on the ballot in Virginia. So plug for that again. I know we mention this every week, but it's super important, guys. If you can get over to Virginia and help out, we really need to get Beto on the ballot, and that takes petition signatures.
Yeah.
And I think a few of you guys are going up to Beto Fest up in New Jersey.
That's a plan as well. Yeah, we got a lot going on. So basically, if if you're in the middle of nowhere and there's nothing big going around, but you still want to be involved, but you look us up, check out our website, sign up for the events. Hit us up on Twitter. We do a lot of our stuff just organizing through Twitter DM groups and chatting, but we got emails and other ways of getting in touch with us. So hook up with us and we'll get you on the list and we'll get you set up with travel. And kind of like you said, I think we're sending up some people to Beto Fest, work with the envoys, so that should be a great time.
Yeah, no, you guys are. Mm-hmm. I've been kind of seeing what you guys have been doing and working closely with Ryan. I hear him talk about it. He's been talking about it for a couple of weeks since you came back from the steak fry about all the stuff you wanted to do.
Yeah, we got the website built. We're getting, one of the nice things is we are working very closely with the staff when we go to these places. So, like, they'll give us phone lists of people that we're trying to get specifically to that event and, do some canvassing while we're there and really, take the most advantage of our time. So, yeah, we're planning.
Yeah, you guys got out and canvassed in Iowa too. Like, these guys are the real deal. They're busting their asses out there.
So,
and absolutely. Sign up to be a member of the Road Warriors. get involved in different ways. And I mentioned Beto Fest. So Beto Fest is an event that's going on in New Jersey this weekend. It's hosted by Jessica Dross, and she's got a partnership with the Envoys for Beto. Basically, it's an interactive arts event to connect the dots between radical authenticity, building community, and Beto's like idea of punk rock politics. So they're basically having this huge festival up in New Jersey. It's in Marlton, New Jersey, which I believe is South Jersey from my time living there. I believe it's down towards closer to Philly.
I don't know Jersey geography that well. I know where Atlantic City is, and that's about it.
That's pretty much where everybody knows where it is. Atlantic City. Oh man, good old Atlantic City. That place didn't get run into the
not at all. No, there wasn't a big, massive failure of a casino there at all.
Yeah, no, that didn't happen.
No,
ever. Here's looking at you, Donald Trump. But yeah, if you get a chance, head up to Beto Fest. It's in New Jersey this weekend. It's a big event. They're gonna do, from what I've heard, what I've gleaned from it, is they're gonna do more than one. So it's gonna continue. It's gonna be a huge event. It runs 2 to 6 Sunday. So again, we mentioned that this was being put on partially by the Envoys, and you got a little bit of time to spend with the Envoys, and I actually got to speak with the founder of the Envoys, whose name is Scott. And just to be sure, because I want to make sure I say his last name right, because if I'm going to say somebody's name, I want to say it right. It's a teacher thing, man.
No, I hear you. I'm just bad at pronouncing names. But yeah, you look that up. So yeah, the Envoys, if you, if you can't travel, if you're doing your thing as far as, organizing and block walking locally, or just trying to get that, but not everybody's talents are necessarily, in the knocking on doors or picking up phone calls. That's incredibly important. You need to do that because that is the most effective way of convincing voters. But there's all different moving parts to a campaign. This isn't, there's not just one way to campaign. There's all these different things. So the Envoys, they're great at being able to find you and harness your talent and put it to use to the campaign, no matter what it is. So they do all kinds of stuff. I think you talked to Scott recently.
Yep, I talked to Scott Bramer this week. Sorry,
Bramer,
I wanted to make sure I had. Sorry for the discrepancy with your last name, Scott.
Right.
I wanted to make sure I had everything right. I don't want to. People listen to this, man. People listen to me, and I want to be polite enough to say people's names correctly.
I'm sure he'll appreciate that.
So I'm going to go ahead and bring on Scott.
Hey, how's it going, Christopher?
Not bad. Scott is he's the founder of the Envoys, who, for those who are in the Beto Slack and on Twitter, you see a lot of Twitter handles that say Envoy on them. And if you're like me, you were kind of like, you knew it was kind of a big deal, but you didn't so much know what it is. So I'm bringing on Scott, and Scott's going to tell us a little bit about Envoys for Beto. Jesus, I got out of that habit a long time ago.
Yeah, so, it'll happen.
Dude, it pops out of nowhere. It's funny to me. So how did you? Go ahead.
Yeah, just about the time you think you've got one pronunciation dialed in, and then you realize, oh wait, I'm saying Beto and instead of Beto. Yeah, it's just the subtleties of the English language.
Yeah, right. No, you'd think you'd have an easy to say name with it being only 4 letters, but you'd be surprised how many people get that shit wrong all the time. And like, I was saying it so wrong, and I've been saying it like at least moderately right for a while. I don't know where that came from. I guess my brain is just not functioning the way it should properly. Anywho, so Scott is the founder of the Envoys. So Scott, how did you find Beto? And how did that lead into you guys forming just this huge thing around him?
Well, I grew up in Texas, and hit the road for California back in the mid late 80s, and my family's still in Texas and has always been into politics. My grandfather, my maternal grandfather, and so my mom, she sent me a live stream at some point. It must have been late spring, early summer of 2017, and I checked it out, and I was, of course, Trump had been elected, and things were feeling pretty grim, and this guy just really resonated, really gave hope, and really seemed like a different kind of cat as far as politics went, and so I just was drawn in, and I've been working on developing an education app. The app that I've been working on is all about using ball sports as a context for training and learning social emotional learning skills as well as STEM skills in the context of training for ball sports. And so being online and working a lot, around the computer, always clicking over to Facebook when things get a little draggy, and there would be another Beto live stream. And so it just kind of grew over that year of 2017 through the summer. As we got into early 2018, it really seemed like something was cooking. And so I started a Facebook page called USA for Beto. And I guess that was about February of 18. And it was pretty lonely on that page for a while. But I remember there's this guy, Jesus Cortez, who by and by I came to find out that he also was in California, not that far from where I was. In Santa Cruz, California is where I was. Old Jesus is over around Chico, but in any case, it was just Jesus, and then there was another young woman who was coming in, and then we got to summertime, and we had a fair few people. By the time we got to June, July of 18, it was really starting to crank, and I think the Willie Nelson 4th of July concert, Beto played guitar and sang with Willie for 3 or 4 songs, which was just super cool.
It's super fucking cool.
Yeah. I mean, it was just kind of the breakout moment for me. Just seeing that this guy was just so comfortable in his skin in such a high-profile place where he could just get up on the stage with Willie Nelson and really relax and just sing and play guitar. And so that was huge. And as we got into August, Beto went on this whole 34-day road trip, and energy was picking up. And I think it was September the 29th, about a little over a month before the election. And Beto did another rally in Austin. Well, actually, that other Willie show when he was with Willie, that had been in Dallas, but he did a show in Austin with Willie. Well, not a show, it was a rally, and Willie only played for like 30 minutes, but over 55,000 people showed up. I think it was the biggest political rally since Obama in like '08, which eclipsed everything that happened in 2016 with anything that Hillary did or Bernie did or Trump did. So you knew, and in the meantime, all along, he's getting asked constantly since, I don't know when it started, probably somewhere after the NFL take a knee incident, video at the live stream must have been around July.
Yeah, I think that was about mid-July. That's when I caught on to him, is when I saw that video, and I knew it was something different.
Yeah. And so, it seemed like he started getting asked that question. Will you run for president? And it always seemed like Texas was going to be a long shot in the Senate, and the polls were never looking, too good. But they started shrinking that margin coming down to the wire, and as we all know, he came up a little short there. And meanwhile, this USA for Beto Facebook page that we started, we had a fundraiser called it Tees for Texans, and basically we were just raising money to buy shirts from Beto that we would give away to people who were volunteering maybe to need another Beto shirt. And the way we were raising the money was by selling T-shirts. So we were selling our own original T-shirts, turn around, and it was just a few $100 that we made. Might have came close to $1,000 by the time it was all said and done. So nothing big, but it gave me just kind of another little thing to do with the USA for Beto page. And so yeah, we came down the wire and obviously came up short. But by then we'd been thinking, something else is going to happen, and thinking. Yeah, I mean, I felt it. I just always kind of thought this guy is going to be our president. And
I was in the same mindset as you. As soon as I saw the numbers came in from the Senate race, I was like, he's going to run for president. My wife, she pushed back on me a little. She's like, no, he said he wasn't going to run. He said he wasn't going to run. I said, no, watch. So I kind of kept my eye out. Like I looked at the other candidates, but I never committed to anybody because I knew Beto was going to run.
Yeah. It did seem kind of inevitable, but it must have been right when we got out of the election and kind of got over the intensity of the loss, and really not knowing obviously for sure what was going to happen. It was along about December when the idea for Envoys started to crystallize. And really, what I wanted to do was just create a way that volunteers could gain confidence through an online community and new volunteers, because personally I had not been politically, an activist ever. I'd always been really into politics, but had never really been an activist per se. And so, yeah, just had the idea that we could create this platform. And like I say, I'd been working on an app, doing a lot of stuff. I was living just right over the hill from Silicon Valley in Santa Cruz. Perched up on a ridge top just a few miles from the ocean, where I raised my son, and I was kind of in a space where I was an empty nest dad. My son had just finished college, and I was basically just a little despondent because of the political state of affairs in the country. You've got a child, and you know what it's like now that you're a dad. It weighs heavy. Yeah,
it's super heavy, and the more shit that keeps coming out, I'm like, oh god.
Yeah,
it's really how I started getting really, really involved and getting more ingrained into it is because of my kid.
Yeah, I'd say same here. It kind of chokes you up just thinking about it. So to kind of put a point on how it all came about, there were a number of volunteers that were working with us with the USA for Beto page that had, I say volunteers, I mean, we were working online with building this platform, building this Facebook page is all it really was. And but knowing that I wanted to kind of jump the tracks out of that lane and spread our wings and create something that was going to empower people that were, like myself, who hadn't really had that much experience in being an activist, and, give them a place to get confidence, to learn policy, to have a supportive community around them, and see if we could get that kind of distributed across the country. Obviously, I'd named the page USA for Beto, so I was always kind of thinking big like that. And, in the back of my mind, I was always kind of thinking that we were leading up to this moment. And so here we are, it's December 18, coming into 19, and, all the speculation, you're starting to get the kind of pundits that were kind of on the Democratic side, taking pot shots at Beto on the fossil fuel issue and some other things that came from the Senate campaign, where he had taken no PAC money, obviously, but just because there were some fossil fuel executives who had donated just as individuals. No, they were taking it to him on that, and I forget. Let's see. I'm trying to remember what the other early stage issue was. I think the guy's name was David Sirota. He was a former Bernie spokesman, and there was a woman, I believe her last name is Brunig, with the Washington Post, who was taking some pretty intense shots at him. That's in December of 18, and so that's kind of where this whole media barrage really started. And so meanwhile, we're starting up Envoys at the same time, not really thinking a whole lot about the media barrage or whatnot, or what was to come over the coming months. Knowing pretty in there somewhere that he had that date with Oprah in February coming up, and having kind of read the between the lines on what Beto had said. And so, feeling pretty good about the whole thing. And so was getting some good feedback from some of the people that I'd been working with on the USA for Beto page, regarding the proposal that I had put together, a kind of PowerPoint on, and run it by some people and whatnot. And so, yeah, by the time the new year hit, we were a week or two into starting to build it. And as we got into February, there was really the feeling that he was going to. Well, he had said that he was going. I forget exactly the date, but he had said that he was going to let us know kind of what was up by the end of February at a certain point. And
I remember that.
Yeah. So I think there was the event where Trump went to El Paso, and that must have been around the 10th or 11th of February, somewhere right in there. And of course Beto did he collaborated with other activists in El Paso and did the I believe it was called the March for Truth, or something like that. And
yeah, I believe so. I believe it was the March for Truth.
Yeah, that was a big moment, but that was right when we were really starting to get rolling, and we took, I knew we needed to get the thing kind of away from Facebook, but we had all these kind of Facebook, people are, let's put it this way, a lot of the people that were helping get it off the ground were a little bit more on the older side and comfortable with Facebook. And so I thought, okay, well, we're gonna take the kind of digital headquarters into Workplace, which is a Facebook product. And that will make it more comfortable for everybody to kind of, take the plunge into a different digital platform. And meanwhile, around that time, Kari Ramirez, who had been helping with the USA for Beto page as an admin, she had gone out to Nebraska, and there had been a family issue there, and she had come back, and when she got back, she had kind of had she'd really come to realize that, what, man, I'm all in on this thing. So Kari and I spent the last, the remainder of February really just trying to get this thing together, get our proposal together, and the idea is that we wanted to create this platform. And we wanted to get it inside, underneath the umbrella of the campaign, as opposed to being out in the greater grassroots world floating around, because we knew it was going to be, the kind of campaign where you're going to. It's going to be no PACs. There's going to be, there's going to be no money to keep things rolling. So it's always a mystery of how the heck are we going to sustain ourselves. Meanwhile, I've kind of let my whole I put my app development on the back burner at that point, and I'm just working, night and day, literally 7 days a week. Oftentimes, I don't know, 18 hours a day, um, so to speak. I mean, not literally, but it was just everything, and we're really going for it up until that end of the February point, because we wanted to have our ducks in a row to present to Beto, and so we did, and. That was, it was seemed like a race, but we wanted to get that proposal into him before we felt like all hell would break loose, right as he announced. And sure enough, he kind of put it off a little. He said, "Well, we've made a decision, but we're going to announce it in a little bit, in a couple of weeks or whatever." And so we used that time to keep adding value every day to what we were doing, and hoping that we were going to hear from him. And I had used a contact to get our proposal to him. And anyway, just hoping for, just knowing that the guy's going to have a million things going on, and that our little, grassroots dream and prototype to get under his campaign's wing was probably going to be, pretty ancillary. And so, sure enough, he announced, and it was we were in contact with Zach Mallitz, who Zach Mallitz was from the Bernie campaign, had been with him during the Senate, and he was working with a woman by the name of Becky Bond, and they had really been the kind of distributed campaign organizing kind of gurus of the Senate run. And they were our initial, or Zach was our initial point of contact, and so Zach fell out. Zach and Becky fell out of the team for whatever reason. I still don't really know, but there seemed to be no kind of hard feelings about it. But it did happen right around the time that it seemed like Beto brought in new team members. And when he kind of signed up Jen O'Malley, I believe that she's got all kinds of contacts throughout the political world, and so more than likely there was just a team that was already going to be with her. And I think really maybe what happened was they were just not going to focus on such a distributed type of campaign like Beto had in the 254 counties of Texas. And it was just, hey, look, Beto, the country's too big for that. I'm guessing, I don't know this for a fact, but it seemed like that might have had something to do with why Zach and Becky moved on. And so I still don't really know if there's any truth to that or not, but with respect to the distributed strategy that seems to have now become definitely post August the 3rd, has become for sure the way, so the way that Beto is rolling again, and so that is kind of that gives you a pretty good feel for how we got down the road into the campaign. But really, I still hadn't met Beto at that point. I still hadn't really I'd been in touch with Zach Mallitz, and now he's gone. We've had a few curveballs at this point with kind of detractors and challenges in this scene, and it was there were a lot of hurdles to kind of get over, just to kind of finally meet Beto. And I met him and must have been early April in Reno. And Beto introduced me to, well, let's just say when I met Beto, we were surrounded by, a scrum of like reporters and his people and supporters. And it was after an event at the University of Nevada, Reno, which is close to where I used to live in the Tahoe area. So it's kind of a special place, also right near where my son was born. And in any case, yeah, I kind of nervously approached Beto as he's walking to this pack of reporters that were waiting for him, and I said, "Hey, Beto," and he stopped, he turned around, and I kind of went into my little pitch about, we've got this organization that we've been working on. It's called Envoys for Beto. Have you heard of it? And he's like, no. And I was like, shit, And so, that I kind of recovered from that, and somehow, spit out my little spiel with that curveball, and he was like, this is exactly what we need. This is, you guys are, and I'd say, hey, you're not going to be able to get rid of us. We're going to be with you all the way, man. And so he was very receptive from the word go. But the really cool thing was, like I said, it was this pack of people and reporters and energy. And you know how it can be on a scene like that. Everybody wants to talk to Beto, and everything just stopped when I approached him, and he tuned in to me, and it was just like everything stood still. We were kind of in a road that had been closed, and all these reporters are standing in this road. And anyway, it was just a kind of a magical moment where time just stood still for a second. And
yeah, I totally get that feeling. I met him in Charlottesville, and before he had gone over to Fairfax, and he makes you feel like you're the only person on the planet, regardless of all the shit that's going on around you.
Exactly.
It's a crazy feeling.
Yeah, that really does kind of nail it. That's how I felt. It's like, wow. And so in any case, he entered 3 days later. I was meeting with Courtney Wheeler, who is, I think Courtney is on the kind of the political side of the campaign organization, but she's an attorney from Texas who was living out in Tennessee. And she had been hired by Jen. And so anyway, meeting her was a real turning point. And before too long, she had us in Austin in a meeting with Lauren Brainerd, who'd been brought on to be the National Director of Organizing, and been working very closely with Lauren ever since. So anyway, that's kind of the pathway that. But the thing about it is obviously the whole campaign, the way it's gone, beginning with all back in December, when, like I say, Sirota and Brunid were taking these shots at him. We were just, I don't know, we just weren't quite ready for that. We'd been in this whole different space for the Senate campaign, and but we built up our infrastructure for Envoys diligently with all kinds of educational resources and all kinds of kind of structural systems, and lots of planning, lots of system development, and we're really kind of ahead of the campaign in a lot of ways for a long time. I mean, for into the summer, and in many aspects, as Beto's still bringing on team members, all the way up through mid-July or something in there, I think is when it.
Yeah, I think he's still bringing on team members. Like they open new offices all the time. Like they've done a really good job of staying staffed with really, really bright people.
Yeah, it is amazing. And so many of them, young people who it's like just super talented. Was in a meeting just yesterday, I think it was day before yesterday, with Alex Coopersmith, who so many people have had the chance to work with. Young guy who's doing organizing, and just
I've talked to him a few times. He's a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, just really with it, and just so a lot of these folks have worked together before, and I think like Lauren's team for the organizing group with Manfred McCoy, and then this guy Sean, who's moving over to join as the distributed campaign model kind of guru now from South Carolina in a week or so. All have worked together before, and so and then I think a lot of them have worked with Jen before. So Really kind of probably a bit of an all-star team that Jen kind of assembled.
Yeah, no, the team is just really, really, really strong. I know there's a lot of members who had worked on the Obama campaign as well. But to your point, just in the whole realm of the envoys, is a lot of I guess the campaign's really propped up really by the volunteers. Like, you guys were ahead of the curve with a lot of the things that you were doing before they were even fully staffed. Like, the way that you guys have handled the digital rollout has been fantastic. Ryan was telling me that during the debate you got like 9 different graphics out in 10 minutes or like a minute or something like that, some dumb number. Like, you guys have been just a bit ahead of the curve on a lot of stuff.
Yeah. There was a couple of our team members met Beto. I think they might have both met him for the first time. Stacy and Donna met Beto, and after the Plano event the other day, and I saw a picture that Cynthia took of them explaining to Beto how, I believe the number was something like, in the course of the debate, he had put out, he had X amount of minutes. I'm going to guess it was like 12 or, some really small amount of relative minutes. But in any case, they had extracted, I think maybe 15, 18, 19 statements, and transcribed those statements into graphics that they had already prepared before the debate. And there was a team of about 4 or 5 people, and they're editing this down. They're matching they're doing the final copy of the text that from Beto's mouth onto the graphics that they had laying in wait, that they had diligently prepared for that moment for during the week or two before. And then another team standing by to push those graphics, those memes, out into the digital space on all the various platforms. So it was. That made Beto's jaw drop. I know it's a podcast. Nobody's going to see the picture, but too bad. We should post the picture somewhere, and for posterity's sake.
Oh, absolutely. If you get me that picture, I can put it on when we launch the episode. Absolutely.
Right on.
That's cool, man. And I know you guys got a lot of stuff going forward. You guys are we're actually starting to partner with you guys a little bit. The envoys have actually helped us work on shirts and get our information out there. These guys are fantastic. Like, y'all are doing amazing work. And I know you guys have a lot of big stuff coming up, so we're not gonna spoil any of that. But what I really want to do is I really want to thank you for coming on and explaining all of this and telling y'all's story, because it's such an uplifting thing. Like, you guys started from nothing, really. You just kind of had this idea,
right?
And you ran with it, and that's kind of what Beto inspires, and that's how we got the podcast started. So it'd be nice to have two things kind of work together in that aspect, that have started out of nothing for something that it could be something much, much bigger.
Exactly. Yeah, that is the beauty of it, huh?
It is absolutely beautiful. I'm very much looking forward to working with all of you guys. But I wanted to thank you so much for coming on and talking with us. You guys have a platform here anytime you want. All you've got to do is shoot me a message.
We really appreciate it, Christopher. So nice to be working with you and Ryan. You guys have a great chemistry, and looking forward to doing lots of wonderful things together.
Absolutely. Take it easy, man.
All right, you too.
And thanks again to Scott for coming out and talking with me and really telling me how the envoys got started. Because to be honest with you, I had no idea really what the envoys were. I had kind of seen them around via Twitter. Mm-hmm. But that's about as far as I got. And I guess that would be a good time to plug the fact that we are selling shirts.
Yeah.
Like, we're selling
like
shirts.
For real.
Not ones I made in my kitchen, like real ones. We actually have them up on the Envoys shop. We are doing a bit of we're working with the Envoys. We're kind of helping them out with some of their media. They're kind of helping us out get our message across. So I'm really, really excited to be working with them, especially now that I know what they do and who they are. But yeah, if you guys check out the link, we've got it linked on our Twitter. You can go and check out our shirts. It's in white and in black. And the money that we make actually goes to making sure we can stay up with equipment and get the places that we need to be, because not everybody can go to Iowa, but Ryan can, so we sent him.
But we still need, there's still lots. I mean, so much more we could be doing. So yeah, like you say, we're selling shirts. We're coming up with other ideas. The shirts, we don't want to be competing with Beto's campaign. So we're, donating half the proceeds of that to the campaign.
Yep, absolutely.
But yeah, so check us out and check out the Envoys. Thanks for Scott coming on. And I'm sorry?
Oh, let's go ahead and get
let's bring the rest of them on. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and get the interview with the Envoys.
Yeah.
So I am out here at the Iowa Steak Fry, and I am with the co-founder of the Envoys for Beto and a couple of envoys out here. So let's just go around the room and introduce yourself. So what's your name and where you're from?
My name's Kari Ramirez, and I'm the co-founder of Envoys for Beto, and I'm from San Diego, California.
And
I'm Donna Compton, and I'm a volunteer for Envoys for Beto, and I'm from Dallas, Texas.
I am Brandy Lewis, and I am also a volunteer for Envoys, and I'm from Asheville, North Carolina.
everybody's hoarse from cheering for Beto.
A lot of chanting.
A lot of chanting yesterday.
Screaming.
Yeah, screaming and stuff.
Giving our enthusiasm.
Right. So y'all are obviously super fans. You came all the way out here. You got the Envoys. So that's kind of, so you've been kind of talking to me about Envoys. Y'all obviously super fans, so this is a huge super fan group, but what else? What else do y'all do? Because you keep telling me all these different things you do. So, what is
in life?
Okay. What is?
What do you mean? This is what we do. So originally, the way I got kind of hooked into this whole thing is I was a supporter from San Diego for Beto's Senate campaign, and I was just an excited supporter on Facebook, and there was a group called USA for Beto on Facebook, and became this little community, and we were all talking, and Scott Bramer, who was the originator of that Facebook page, reached out to me in December. Actually, we were looking over it now as we look back, and so December was the time that he messaged me on Facebook and was like, I am seeing all of this online support in Facebook, and
because we were talking about that earlier for a Senate campaign. You go on Facebook, it's just Beto, all up and down.
It was Twitter as well.
Yeah, and it was incredible. And so we didn't know if he was going to run. We were hoping he was going to run. We fingers crossed that he was going to run. And he said, "Do you want to? I see all this online support, and I want to turn it into action for his presidential campaign.
Kind of harness that,
and just harness that." And I was like, "I'm in," because I, was watching all of it. Well, you were in Texas, but watching from afar and feeling like you couldn't quite do enough because you didn't live in Texas, and so it was that perfect moment of I'm all in because I have been watching him for so long, and so that was December. And I kind of had to tie up some loose ends in life, and then we went full board in February. And our birthday is, I might get this wrong, we're counting our birthday as, I think March 6th officially, when we organized where we are on Workplace right now. So in the beginning, we were just a messenger on Facebook. We were just a messenger chat, talking about amplifying and getting his word out. And that's all we were. It's this little message group, and then we've grown to what we are now.
So y'all just jumped on the message board then
I had gone to see Beto for the first time on Father's Day in Greenville, South Carolina, and I messaged I put a comment on the live stream and Scott saw it.
I was wondering, I want to hear your stories and how you got on board.
He asked me if I was interested in joining, and at first I was like, oh gosh, no, that sounds overwhelming. But I wanted to get involved. I just didn't know how.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I was like, okay, I'm doing it. It took me one night to think about it. I was like, I'm doing it. I got to do everything I can for this guy.
Yeah,
Right.
that's awesome.
Since I'm from Texas, I've been working, I feel like, my whole life for Beto. The last 3 years, certainly. And so, when we had that narrow loss, I pretty much, as I told Beto last night, that we willed him to run for president.
Yeah.
He doesn't realize it, but all of his Senate
Collectively
people, we
put it
willed
out there
him
in
to.
the universe.
And he said, and he responded, he said, so you knew before I knew I was running. I said, pretty much we did. And basically, if I get a message on my phone that there's a live stream of Beto, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I stop, I'm on, I'm watching. And I kept seeing these envoys for Beto. I was like, what is this envoy thing? Because it wasn't there during the Senate race. I'm like, how did I miss this envoy thing during the Senate race? Because literally it was my life during the Senate race. And so I Googled Envoys for Beto and went to their website and submitted a form. And then, and that was in April. In April is when I think maybe early May. I'm not quite sure.
But it feels like 10 years.
10 years.
It does.
And we, the three of us, and really all of us, including you, we didn't even meet until today. And so, or not today, this weekend, like Thursday, and I feel like I've known you guys forever. And that's kind of, it gives me a sense of pride, because that was one of the things that came out of it that we weren't really working towards necessarily, but just as it unraveled, that we were actually creating a sense of family and friendship, not just work for Beto and get him elected, and that was our goal. And out of that became like this beautiful sense of community.
Yeah, that's something that really struck me this weekend, is how everybody just kind of, like, we're just all one big happy family. Like, really is. You start talking to other Beto supporters. I think I said this somewhere, there's no such thing as a half-ass Beto supporter. So, and everybody out here was just, all in and great energy and everything.
It's an amazing experience.
Yeah.
Because at home, I feel like I'm one of a few. Coming here, I just feel so much energy that I just want to take back and be like, come on, don't you all feel it too?
Yeah, and it's funny because I like what you said, like especially during the Senate campaign, you work remotely, or, if you're not there, because I hear from people all the time, I'm in the middle of Michigan. I'm in the middle of Minnesota. There's nobody around me. There's no events around me. So this is an opportunity for people to yes, let's get involved and start doing stuff, right? It's just kind of, you don't have to be the specific spot. Just everybody getting involved, right?
And the great thing about, technology these days and having the online platform is that we can create that online, and by creating that online, it goes out to the community. So one of my favorite stories about Brandy, and I told you this, is we were talking about hosting a debate watch party, and she was like, I don't know, I'm so nervous, I can't do it. And she posted that in one of our groups, and we all, just different envoys started commenting, and we were like, we can help you, we'll do this, we're going to give you the confidence. And now you're like, I'm addicted to hosting things.
I'm hosting like 4 things this month. I'm like, what else can I host? This is so fun. I'm bringing people together. There are people out there. I just didn't know they existed.
And so that, again, just a kind
so
of
it's kind of like that support
sense of
system.
pride of that's what we want to do, is we want to reach out to those people all over the country, and that just need some extra support and some confidence, and we can do that and create that online, which is incredible to be able to do.
Yeah, because this is and I've said this before on the podcast. This is the first campaign I've ever been involved with in the primary.
Me too.
Really, I mean, previous to the only thing I've really done campaign-wise is I've walked for Hillary a few times, and I've never really been involved in a campaign. So,
That's much more than I've ever done.
So
I voted for the president.
Exactly. Yeah.
The end.
So at the end of the day, it's like, oh, how am I going to block? How do I organize a block walk? How do I organize a watch party or whatever?
Yeah.
And that's one thing we do. We have an education group that we're putting together, just like one pagers on how to host a Beto Rocks meetup, how to host a Beers for Beto meetup, we're working on some training material on how do you get the most effective post on Facebook or on Twitter. What's the best? How do you come up with the hashtags?
But more than the training material, also just having that support structure.
Absolutely.
Like, I think today that's the valuable thing.
We get questions posted on our Hangout all the time. I want to do this. How do we do this?
And then,
and then we're all there.
Yeah.
For me, it has become my social world because I have been passionate about politics my whole life, and doing all of these ideas. And my husband is very supportive. He's a Beto supporter, but not as extreme as I am. And so sometimes, I have exciting news, like a post or a poll or a comment by, like, Michael Moore posted an awesome tweet yesterday about Beto. And, instead of going to him and telling about it, because it's like, okay, Beto, one more time. Like this morning, he said, I thought you were going to call me and tell me you left me for Beto. Okay? So you now understand that dynamic. But I just hop on Workplace, go to our Hangout, and go, hey, guys, look at this. I have somewhere that I know people who understand me. They understand my passion and about Beto, and then we all get excited together. So
So besides training videos and stuff, and obviously the big support and helping, I was hearing stories about other stuff you guys do, like transcribing things and creating graphics and all that.
Yeah, we have an unbelievable graphics team.
Yeah,
that we're recruiting more people. So we're always looking for more. This last debate, we're churning out graphics daily. Literally, I'm editing a graphic while we're doing this podcast. But for the debate, the last debate, we had teams of 2 at different levels. So Carol, who was here, she and I were transcribing every word that Beto said on the debate, and she would start from the beginning, and I would come behind her because she basically transcribes during the day as a job, and I've done editing all my life for various things. So I was the editor, and like 10 seconds after he said his last statement and they went to another candidate, she finished up, I finished up, and we pushed it over to our team of 2 who were pulling quotes out of the words, who passed it on to our graphics. Stacy is our graphics guru, and she plugged it into pre-made graphics. So we would just find the right picture, she'd plug it in, and then she'd send it to the editing team. And there were 2 of us who would check off to make sure there weren't no typos or it was too far to the left, or it needs to come down here. And then we had a team, a couple of teams that would push it out to our Action Alert. It's actually Take Action.
Yeah, we
just renamed everything.
Tell me about that app real quick, actually.
There's a couple things. So the way we organize is on Workplace, and Workplace is kind of our big umbrella, like our virtual headquarters. And then underneath that we have specialty groups. So the Hangout is where we have our national discussion. Everybody's in that group. When you first come in as an envoy, you're in that group, and so that's how we kind of community build. Then we have a group called Take Action, and that's a group that has all the information on how you can sign up with the campaign to become a volunteer, how to join the retweet channel that Todd O'Day put together, who is another amazing person who got to meet today. So you can be on this team that just retweets everything that's out there on social media. We pair with the Beto defense team, and then so all about how to take action. And then in there's Josh Wolf, who is so Beto brings out the best in people, and he brings the best people together. And I was trying to get that across yesterday to him and Cynthia, that we're really just a reflection of their team. And we wouldn't be as good as we are if Beto and Cynthia and their team weren't putting that out for us to bring inside us. But Josh Wolf created a app called Spontit, which I just learned means spontaneous. And so what it is basically it's a way to amplify social media. You get an alert on your phone. And so Scott, I think, is dealing with most of it right now. So he's combing through social media and finding those things that need to be amplified, that are just, it's a great article, it's an amazing post on Twitter that's getting a lot of eyes that we need to amplify, and you actually get a notification on your phone, and it's basically like
it's a little push notification.
Yeah, a push notification. And you just hit a button and it takes you directly to that, whether it's YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, whatever he's deciding. And it's pretty incredible. And Donna has put in a lot of work too to help him tweak it. So what we're doing with Envoys, we have no template. Like, we've just made up how this works. And
yeah, that's one thing I've noticed about Beto's campaign is he's definitely like, he puts the power into people's hands. And we said this several times this weekend, ask for forgiveness, not permission. So just go out there.
He said it last night.
He said it last night. I couldn't believe that. I was like, we were just talking about that.
So yeah, just go out there. And so y'all are just going out there and you're doing it. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about how you guys were interacting with like the Slack channel, and you guys go back and forth with the, and I know you guys got some contacts with this weekend actually. Okay, we're back. So obviously amateur hour here going on. My microphone runs out of batteries. I don't remember. I'm not exactly sure where we left off. So, but I think you were talking about the.
Just really just how we're just able to collaborate, kind of on a national level with different ideas, because it's going to take, this is truly grassroots, and it's going to take the minds and the brains of everybody to come up with ways that we can reach out to more people and get Beto's message out there more.
Right. So if people do want to get in touch with y'all, how do they do it?
So we have a website, and it's usaforbeto2020.org. And you go to the website and you can read more about Envoys and what we're about. And at the bottom, you just give your email and your name, and then we get you into our system. And so what you do is you get dropped into Hangout automatically, which is our, like I said, our national discussion group. And if you just hang out there and you just stay there and that's what you want to be part of, then that's great. But as you go through training, we have a 3-step training process. It's super short, super easy, but it just teaches you how we organize and how we work. And as you go through that process, you gain more access to our internal working groups. And then that's it. I mean,
awesome.
Yeah. So, are you recording or?
I'm just taking a picture.
We're taking a live shot.
I'm going to take the battery runs out of
my
it.
real life. In my real life.
We have cameras.
I got to take pictures of everything. I apologize.
No. This is great. This is great. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey. So I'm definitely gonna sign up. Obviously, we've talked and. We want to do some more stuff with you guys. So we'll figure something out. And obviously, we also talked about some of the stuff. Maybe we can start helping y'all get onto Reddit and and expand your reach. So anything we can do. Thanks for sitting down and talking with me.
Thank you. Yeah, we want to collaborate with everybody. I was just saying it before. We're not trying to take over anything. We want to collaborate and we want to work together, because it's literally going to take all of us in our little groups that have come up with amazing things already, and you see it all over social media, people coming together, and we just want to bring it all in under one hub to just massively amplify. And get him out. So
So one more thing, and before we go, because we always like to ask all of our Beto supporters this. So, just collectively, let's just do this. Why Beto? Of all the candidates, what makes Beto so special?
For me, he's the most authentic politician I've seen in my lifetime. When he speaks, it's from the heart. He means it, and also, no PACs, all people. I want a president who is up there working for the people, listening to the people, and not the corporate special interest PAC money. When Beto wins in 2020, that will change the landscape of politics forever and get the money out to say, yes, we can do this without the special interests. And being a politician, a political buff, really.
Right.
Yeah.
I just, like I said before, I knew nothing about politics. I had no interest. And then when I saw Beto, I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is so different. He has more passion, more fire than I've ever seen in anyone. And I feel like he will fight for us and he will fight for our kids.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh,
sorry.
You've been crying.
God, I cry every time I talk about him because
you've been crying all week, and she starts, and then I start. And oh my gosh! I mean, I'm just echoing all of that. The sentiment of he's just an authentic person. It's something I've never seen before, an experience, especially in a politician, and he just by him being him and not doing anything special, he inspires people to do and be bigger than themselves and to make the change that they want to see. So instead of him saying, I will do it, I will fix this, he goes, we're doing it together. And one of the things when I introduced him in San Diego, which turned into a quote, which was so awkward, but I was like, real leaders, what they do is they inspire, they inspire by doing, and then you feel inspired to work alongside them. They're not telling you what to do. You are just wanting to be right there.
Yeah, that's something that they taught me, like when I was in the Army. You know, you lead by example.
Exactly.
And, you never ask people to do something you wouldn't be willing to do. And my God, he does it.
He does it. He cleans houses. He rescues dogs.
And when it happens, you are just so more willing, at least in my personal point of view, to just put it all on the line because of how he is. And when people ask you to do things, sometimes you're like, okay, I'll do it. But when you're inspired to do it without being asked, like we were never asked to do any of what we've created here.
And I hear a lot of people saying, I'm so outside my zone of comfort.
Oh, yeah. This podcast is outside my zone.
He gets me to do things that I never thought I could do. Right.
I'm a dog trainer by trade. I'm a animal trainer, and now we're creating things.
We're knocking on people's doors. Talking to strangers.
And organizing a national community. I mean, come on. Don't sell your show short. This is huge.
Yeah, it's crazy.
This is huge.
It's been a wild ride. And we're just beginning.
It's just about. I feel after this weekend, I feel like something's about to happen.
Yes.
Like we're about to take off.
He made an impression in that
speech. His speech yesterday was unbelievable.
So. Yeah, he did. Yeah. Things are moving up, man.
I hope it. Yeah. I hope so.
Exactly.
So hey, thanks for sitting down with me, guys. I appreciate that. So
awesome.
This was awesome.
I know.
Thank you very much. All right, hugs.
I'm a hugger.
You gotta be a hugger if you're an
I'll cry.
Thank you.
Thank you again. All right.
So big shout out to the Envoys. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for all of the time that you spent. Like, you guys took some great pictures too. Tell me about your experience, Brian.
Yeah, like I said, it was a great experience altogether. That's why we formed the Road Warriors, as I mentioned. Yeah, it was just it's just something that once we went there and you start becoming surrounded by Beto supporters and you realize that you're not just alone, that other people really do see what you see. It really
kind of care like you care.
They care like you care, and they're willing to work for it. That's the thing, is not just, yeah, I'm there, but being surrounded by that kind of energy, it energizes you, and you bring that energy back home with you to want to do more. We said before, this is a grassroots campaign. It takes everybody. So that means if you're listening to this, you need to step up and be a leader. Anybody can be a leader. It's not that hard, but you need to do it. You need to start organizing, like Brenda said, put something on the map. Just put an event out there. You might be surprised. Keep putting an event out there. Talk to people, go knock on doors, go find people wherever they are. If it takes driving, 5 hours away to go to Des Moines for a day, do it. Do it, because you won't regret it. If you want to get this man elected, this is what it takes. So, it's, now is the time. This isn't a type of campaign where you can just sit back and give money to, tweet about, and hope the candidate actually succeeds. I mean, if you want that kind of campaign, go see Pete. That's what he does. If you want
He
a
does
campaign,
do it well. I mean, it's not compelling, but he's pretty good at it.
I mean, if you want to a campaign where you actually, you need to get out and be involved, and it's about people, your people, you need to get out and be involved.
And it helps you make. I have felt like I've made such a big difference. Like it's done a whole lot for my mental health as well.
Absolutely.
Like I feel better as a person. When Ryan started this, he was an introvert.
Still am. But an introvert doesn't mean you don't like people. It just means that you're okay by yourself.
we know.
Yeah.
But we know you don't really want to. No, I'm just kidding. Ryan actually does a really good job of going out and talking to people, because I hate that shit too. Like I know.
Well, it's easy to talk to Beto supporters. That's for sure.
Exactly. If you're talking to Beto supporters, it's easy. You have one major thing in common.
Mm-hmm.
And getting back to the whole support, guys, we're gonna round this episode out. You got to get out. You got to donate. You got to volunteer. You've got to get involved. If we want to see Beto in the White House, we got to put in the work, and we got to do it now. It's not just him. It's on us too. Every supporter, every donator, all of us. And for now, we'll just keep on looking ahead to Beto days.